an eerie type of composition. They kind of started out with this bass melody, and then they just come in with this low octave thing, which is puts it into perspective. And then they pulled the rug out under again when they just slowly implemented that major sound, which made it a little uncomfortable. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Low End University. She's Lost Control is from Joy Division's debut studio album, Unknown Pleasures, released in 1979. And the timing of this episode might be a bit backwards, as I first started with New Order here on the channel, and I learned all about bassist Peter Hook. You guys in the comments told me so much interesting stuff about him. He had a really unusual way of playing, so it's cool to go backwards to Joy Division now. And I never knew anything about the band. I have heard the song Love Will Tear Us Apart. I know the chorus, but I never knew who Joy Division was or anything about them. Now, I usually keep these intro segments pretty brief, but there's so much fascinating stuff I'm reading about this song and this band, so I'm going to try to blow through it as quick as I can. First things first, I didn't realize that Joy Division was such a short-lived band. I thought New Order was something that came way later down the road after Ian Curtis passed, but there was only one full-length album released during his lifetime, and New Order started shortly after that in 1980, and the subject matter of this song is pretty heavy. The lyrics draw inspiration from a young woman who's suffering from a violent epileptic seizure, which is a condition Ian Curtis had himself. And it's based on a true story about Ian Curtis's time working at a rehabilitation center where a woman who was a patient there was struggling to find employment because of her condition. And after some time had passed, he didn't see her anymore, and he assumed she found employment somewhere until he realized that she died from a seizure. And, the woman's unexpected death alongside Curtis's own experiences with the condition and the stigma surrounded it were what became the lyrical inspiration for the song. That's really heavy. But on a musical level, there's certainly some unusual things happening as well, such as the album's producer, Martin Hannett, insisting that each drum was recorded completely separately because he was obsessive about bleed into the microphones. Bleed meaning the mic picking something up in the background, which would be the other drums, which is pretty standard, but sounds like he was pretty obsessive about that not being the case. Alongside that, they have a lot of unusual production techniques and sound effects for this album, which makes sense now that I know more about Peter's playing style on bass. So this has been long. Let's get right to it. This is the official reimagined video for She's Lost Control from Joy Division. Bass.
Confusion in her eyes, it says it all. She's lost control.
She's lost control.
And she's clinging to the nearest passerby. She's lost control.
Okay, knowing a bit about the subject matter, I feel like I'm going to get sucked into the heaviness of that. Here to talk about the bass lines, but it was just really interesting kind of inspiration for the story. Had I heard this before hearing New Order, I wouldn't have thought that was bass, but I'm 99% sure it is. They have a lot of unusual sounds, so this is pre-New Order, but sounds like we're hearing D. He's kind of starting out with a bass melody up high. Let's see. Really nice cadence in that melody. Yeah. Of a G, just going up a G pentatonic, minor pentatonic scale. But it sounds like underneath that, and I don't know if this was recorded separately, but he's kind of droning what I guess is that D string.
Confusion in her eyes, it says it all. She's lost control.
Yeah, I wonder if those were recorded separately, because the open D string, it sounds like there's a bass note down there just kind of going. But he's not kind of strumming it in sequence, otherwise you would hear the attack on that string as well, alongside the rhythm of the melody. Nonetheless, it could be played together. I imagine if you played it live, it might be more like... that type of thing. Okay, really interesting way to start out. Let's keep it going.
Confusion in her eyes, it says it all. She's lost control. And she's clinging to the nearest passerby. She's lost control.
Okay, this happened with the Smiths video. It's a little out of standard pitch. I got a lot of flack for not retuning my bass to the song, so I'm going to do that. I'm taking your advice and doing that. I'll do that from now on. I just didn't want to take up too much time, so here's an edit for that. Okay, I've tuned up. It was a little sharp. Let's keep it going. Resume the video here.
And the voice that told her when and where to act, she said I lost control again.
Much better. Okay.
And she turned around and took me by the hand and said I've lost control again.
That was the last thing I expected to come in. Is that a separate bass track? Almost has that really clanky, just teethy tone, kind of affected. So my impression with him in New Order is that and what you guys have said, is he only plays up high. Maybe that's just for New Order. Again, I'm not going to act like they're the complete same thing. So he might have had a different approach. I've only heard one New Order song as well, but it sounds like there's a second bass track, and I believe it to be true with, I was reading about the unusual way this album was produced and recorded. But that bass progression down there completely changes the context of the melody. It takes it out of that just droning D thing, which is what we've been in. Went down here to like, okay, that was just a really cool, unexpected counterpoint to the melody he set up on bass, but in this lower octave. Let's hear that.
And she turned around and took me by the hand and said I've lost control again.
That's such a brooding sound. I'm 99% sure that's another bass track. You guys are going to have to let me know. It's tough to guess at this stuff. But you basically have this melody going on. And then down here, you kind of have this like. I'm trying to play it together. I don't know. It just recontextualizes that melody, but that lower bass part kind of sounds like. That type of thing. Just really neat how it changes the context of that melody. Okay, I'm gonna let it go a bit and get into this, but those are just some really cool developments already.
Lost control again. And how I'll never know just why I understand. She said I've lost control again. And she screamed out, kicking on her side, and said I've lost control again. And seized upon the floor, I thought she died. She said I've lost control.
So big sounding.
She's lost control again. She's lost control. She's lost control again. She's lost control.
Okay, they're slowly bringing in that major sound. They started it with the A major, which is if we're in, they changed the key, or they did like a major 5 of the sister major scale. So if we're in D minor starting out, which is, or G minor, now they put in that A major in there. Slowly making it kind of major. And they're just brightening it up very slowly. And I'm just wondering how that ties into the deeper narrative about the subject matter. And that bass melody has stopped. And it's like everything abandoned. The focal point of that melody, everything was kind of built around that. That melody's gone. It's like everything went and reattached to that lower bass part. It's getting bigger and bigger. And it has this sort of like binary thing happening where it's almost expressing this foreboding musical driving kind of thing. I'm getting really artsy fartsy here, but it just really helps kind of knowing the video and the subject matter of the song and the video being, really on the nose with that. I want to hear that build again. It's really epic. That bass tone down there is such a big subby thing. I hope it's not synth. I want it to be bass because it would be really cool. Here we go.
She's lost control.
Major. Okay. I want to see something real quick. Is that melody only coming in when something specific is happening? Just scanning here. Because I'm just wondering if it's really conceptually kind of put to the video in that way, which is really artistic if so. That melody's back in now, and it's almost mixed a little quieter than it was in the beginning. So you had that lower figure coming in, which was kind of quiet. Now the melody has taken its place and is a little more in the background. Really just beautiful, subtle arrangement stuff happening here. The sonic space of everything. Yeah, this is not as weird as New Order. That was quite a lot to take in. It's my first time. I'm coming into this one kind of knowing what to expect. This seems a little more rockish, though. Don't know. I'm just making a generalization here. These are two bands I really got to explore further. Okay. She's lost control.
And she showed up all the errors and mistakes and said, I've lost control again. And she expressed herself in many different ways until she lost control again. And walked up on the edge of no escape and laughed, I've lost control. She's lost control again. She's lost control. She's lost control again. She's lost control.
Comes that major, planing major chords though. It sounds like they're all major. Yeah, but down here, almost kind of has that sound when I don't know if they're all major. It kind of sounds like it, but that planing sound I've talked about in other videos where you just take a chord shape and you move it around regardless of the key or the tonal center. And it just gives this really tense kind of building effect, depending on how it's done. Let me see if that's exactly. All major chords. So G, A, B flat, C, and D. You're basically changing keys multiple times there because that's a key change. And you kind of ignore the rules of the tonal center and key, but what you get in return is that kind of sinister, happy kind of driving building thing. Very cool. Very cool, just little thing to add into the dark nature of the song.
She's lost control.
See if I can play with it. Wow. So now I've heard both Joy Division and New Order, and it's been a couple songs from each, so it's really unfair to make any sort of generalization. New Order seemed a lot more digital, new wave, like really leaning into the productions and the addition of the synths. I don't know if there were synths in Joy Division. I already talked about so much information. I didn't even read that far. But this has a bit more of that rock sound, a little more accessible to a rock musician like me. So I really like this. It was really an eerie type of composition. They kind of started out with this bass melody, kind of get your head around that. And then they just come in with this low octave thing, which is puts it into perspective. It changes the way the melody fits around the chords because it's changing the chords under it. We went from that pedal D to now adding G, A, B flat, C, and D under it. And the way those kind of clash and have this counterpoint thing is it kind of pulls the rug out from under you if you're listening just to the music and the notes and the chords. And then they pulled the rug out under again when they just slowly implemented that major sound, which made it a little uncomfortable. And the whole way that ties into the subject matter, you know, a deep story. I don't usually get this invested into the subject matter, but it was just right there on the song's page. And you didn't really see that type of thing in the video. It was portrayed in more of an implied, abstract way, I believe. But wow, what an interesting band. Such unique usage of the bass. And it seems like quite a deep thing. You know, there's only 2 albums that Ian Curtis was on. The next one came out after he had passed. So, yeah, what can you say? A lot to take in, a lot to unpack. But that's been She's Lost Control from Joy Division. If you want to support the channel further, come find us on Patreon. I do full album reactions over there where I get a lot more into this type of thing, have lots of bass lessons, music theory lessons, and all that type of thing. So come check it out. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. I love you all. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you next time.